All right, guys, so in this video today, I am going to go over linear equations in one variable. So this is the algebra section of the SAT prep math portion. And I want to go ahead and talk about a few things that you need to know about linear equations and how to solve them and what does one variable mean. Now, I'm going to start with the very basic linear equation to solve and then build on that, compound on that, but that is basically your foundation, okay? So that first one that we're looking here, x plus 3 equal 5. Okay, this problem here is very, very basic. So linear equations mean that there are the variable, and I'll explain that in a moment, is only to the power of 1. Okay, you don't see the 1 in algebra. Ones aren't always written. It's mostly understood that it is assumed that, well, not assumed, it is understood that it is 1. Okay, so this x doesn't have a power, but it is a power of 1. So that's what makes it a linear equation. Next, variable. What is a variable? So a variable is the unknown. This letter here, anytime that you see letters in math, it just means that you are not sure what the value is, or you are trying to determine what that value is to make the mathematical problem correct. So this is basically called the unknown, and that's what variable means. Okay, so anytime that you see variable, you know that it is the letter and it is unknown, and typically that is what you are solving for. All right, so quickly looking at this problem, you're able to determine what x should be. What number should be added with 3 that will give you 5? Okay, so you know the answer is 2. But you need to know a process, and I'm going to teach you the process, very basic, just so that you understand as a foundation, because we are going to compound on that. All right, so let's go. The process is we have, let me do it over here, x plus 3 equal 5. I'm just rewriting the problem. This number here is called a constant. That means it does not have a letter with it. It's a standalone. It's just constantly changing to the problem. Whatever the problem is, whatever the answer is of x, it's constantly adding or subtracting to that problem. Okay, so that's why it's called a constant. So I look at it that way. So since it's constantly positive 3 or adding 3, positive and adding is the same thing, guys, okay? So if I'm adding 3, what should I do to get rid of it? The whole 3 is subtract it. The opposite of addition is subtraction. The opposite of positive is negative. And algebra is basically about balancing. So what you're going to do to one side, you must do it. You can do that with the concept of understanding that you're doing one and then doing to the other side, which is an undo process. Or some teachers teach it in the way of moving it to the other side of the equal sign. So whichever one you like best or you have been taught best, understanding that this is just a review. So here you are. Okay, so you bring this down, x. We know that 3 minus 3 is 0. We don't need to write 0. And we know that 5 minus 3 is 2. And that's your answer. Okay, so yes, we confirmed that yes, x is 2. So you do need to remember that process. What if I went ahead and placed a 2 in front of the x? I'm using the same x plus 3 equal 5, but now my x comes with a number. So when a variable comes with a number, that means it is multiplying with that x, okay? Or that variable. So if I have 2x plus 3 equal 5, that means what number am I multiplying with 2 and then adding 3? That will give me 5. What number is that? All right, let's go ahead and use that process that we learned in the very first problem. We're going to go ahead and either move it or undo it. So we're going to undo this 3 and balance it over here or move it over there. We didn't do anything. We did not do anything to this 2x. So we're going to bring this down. So now we can do our basic math. 3 minus 3 is 0. We don't need to write the 0. And 5 minus 3 is 2. See, in the very first problem, that was just one step and we were done. That is what it's called, a one-step equation. And we know it's an equation because it has an equal sign. So we still know that this problem here is still an equation because of the equal sign. But now, I have another step because I would have stopped just at x equals 2. But now I have that 2x. Earlier I told you 2 with an x or any number with an x means that you're multiplying. So what's the reverse of multiplying? Because we are reversing our steps to find out what that x may have went in as or should have went in as. So we're going to reverse it with division. There you go. And as you know with algebra, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 2 divided by 2 is also 1. So I'm left with x equals 1. Now, you may wonder why I didn't put 1 in front of the x. Again, this is one of the things that algebra feels it is understood that it is 1. It does not need to be written. Because if I put a 1 in front of the x, I'm going to feel like I need to get rid of that 1. So since the math has already been done, and 1 doesn't really do any changes mathematically, okay? If you've noticed, 1 doesn't do much of a changing to problems, unless it comes with a negative, okay? But in this case, we don't need to do anything. It's not a negative 1. It's 1. X is 1. Let's check. I'm going to show you how you check to make sure if it's true. So this means that if I plug my 1 for that x, it should be 5. Let's check. 2 times 1 plus 3 equal 5. So that means I put this 1 in parentheses because we know parentheses means to multiply if it's a number by itself. Nothing else is in it. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 3 equal 5. This looks like it's correct to me. 2 plus 3 is 5, and equal 5 is 5. So 5 is 5. Can't be any other number. All right. Now let's build on top of that again. Now, College Board for the SAT prep says for the algebra, you should know linear equations with one variable. This is one variable. We have x on one side. You would think that there are two x's. It is the same letter is what one variable mean, okay? If I had y, then now we would have two variables, okay? So I have one variable, but it shows up on both sides of my equal sign. How do you do that? I still have my x plus 3 equal 5 in there, but now I have a 2x, which we did previously, and now I have another x. So in this problem, you will learn combining terms. So I want you to always remember combining terms or combining letters, variables, constants means like combining apples with apples and oranges with oranges. You wouldn't combine apples with oranges and say, I have a total of X number apples. No, you don't, because oranges are not apples. So if you combine 5 apples with 3 apples, you have 8 apples. But if you combine 3 apples with 5 oranges, you do not have 8 apples. You have 3 apples and 5 oranges. They still are said separately. So you can't combine them to call them a group of apples. Okay? So it's the same thing here. My constant, as I told you earlier, are 3 and 5. These are the numbers that have no letters with them. So let's go ahead and combine the constants together because why? They are the same type of the same type of number. So let's go ahead and combine them. So add 3 here. What do we do to reverse that? Minus 3. And what you do to one side, you do to the other. Okay? Now let's go ahead. I'm going to draw my line here. I didn't do anything different to my 2x. This is now gone. 3 minus 3 is nothing. I don't need to write that. 0. 5 minus 3 is 2. And let's go ahead and bring down that positive x. Okay? Now, who needs to be combined? Those x's are the same type of family, x. So let's go ahead and move this x. Okay, I want to move this one and put it over here because I want all my x's on one side or the left side of my equal sign. And then I want my constants on one side, which is the right side of my equal sign. And I'm going to subtract this x and subtract this x. What's 2 minus 1? Remember, there's a 1 in front of the x if you don't see a number. What's 2 minus 1? 1. And we have 2. Okay. Do I need this 1 in the front? No. And it's positive. So I'm going to show you. If you divide by 1 and divide by 1, look at that. X equals 2. Okay? So you don't really need to write the 1. All right? Now, what does that mean? Go ahead. Let's just check it out. Go ahead and check it. If you plug in 2 for x, now you have multiple x's here. It should balance on both sides. So we're going to do that. 2 times 2 plus 3 equals 5 plus 2. What's 2 times 2? 4 plus 3. What's 5 plus 2? 7. Looks about right. 4 plus 3, 7 equals 7. 7 is 7. Done. All right. And the last one I'm going to show you. Now, this one, it includes distributive property. So distributive property, when you distribute something, that means everyone gets something. So who is getting something? What is being distributed? So this parentheses has an unknown in it and a constant in it, and that's about it. But then it has this 2 on the outside. So that's the distribution, right? We are going to distribute this 2 to everyone inside the parentheses because the 2 belongs to what is inside the parentheses. But you're going to use distribution in order to complete this problem. Okay? So 2 times x, what could that be? We don't know what x is, so 2x is being multiplied together. What is 2 times positive 3? A positive 6. And we got 5. All right. So now here, doesn't this look familiar? This is like problem number 2 we saw earlier right here. Just like this. The only difference is you have a 6 instead of a 3. Okay. So go ahead and do the process that you learned. Subtract the 6 on both sides. Okay. Now you have 2x equals negative 1. Okay. Hopefully you remember your integers and so forth, right? 5 minus 6. Okay, so we have a negative adding to a positive number. let's go ahead and solve that. Divide by 2 and divide by 2, and your x equals a negative half. And that's the answer. Okay, that's it. All right, guys. So this is linear equations. You can even have distributive property on both sides, but it's pretty much the same thing that you did here. So go ahead and practice those problems. If you're working from your SAT prep book, solve more linear equations with one variables. And there is Desmos. You will have Desmos on your test to use for each and every problem. Your digital SAT exam, that's going to help you to bypass a lot of complex problems. It would at least definitely eliminate you making mistakes, all right, arithmetic mistakes. So, and then it also can help you visually to determine your answer. There will be a separate Desmos video in how to use it to help confirm your answer and to remove any errors, okay? All right, guys, that's it. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment.